Hey guys, it's Kelsey. I'm back with another Scrapbook Nerd crop layout. So I finished all of the challenges. They're all posted up on their group. This one is to use orange as our color, or our main color I should say, which I don't have a lot of orange, so this was a challenge. I pulled out my DCWV Lively Geos, which has some orange and teals in it. Which I was using for this part of my Texas trip. So I tried to use quite a few different orange patterns there in this one for that challenge. And then I also incorporated the Scraptacular Cropping Club's challenge to do a highly embellished border. So you'll see that later on. But now I'm just trying to get all those scraps on the page in layers that I like. That cute little fox is going to be my little cohesive element throughout these pages where I'm using this collection, so I wanted to make sure to get him on here. And this is what I do for the embellished border. I fussy cut all of these cactuses and I stack them up along the right side of those photos, which I think turns out really cool. My hands hurt so bad after fussy cutting though. I really don't mind fussy cutting. It always seems like a lot before I get started, but then I don't mind the process. But yeah, I finished and my fingers needed a break. This collection has a really vibrant orange that you can see a little scrap of at the top of the screen, and I really wish I had more of that because I really would have liked to bring that in more. But my background has some orange in it. I used that diagonal coral print that's underneath that cactus paper to map my photos, and then there's two other papers that I bring in that are orange patterns, so I hope that's good enough for the challenge. I just do not keep very much orange around. It's not a color I mind, it's just it reads so Halloween to me. It's hard for me to use on non-Halloween layouts, but I love this paper pad, so I was happy to use it in this context. I bought this paper pad right before my Texas trip because it had the cactuses and the fox, and I thought it would be really cute. But then belatedly, I was like, I hope I actually see these cactuses while I'm there. Otherwise, I preemptively bought this huge paper stack with a theme that wouldn't correlate, but I did, thankfully. So these are a few pictures of the Hannah Springs Wildlife Reserve, which is in Lampassas, Texas. We actually stumbled across this wildlife reserve. This whole day actually was just serendipitous. Like, we started out going to this really cool little German restaurant in downtown square area, and we're like, okay, what's around here that we can do to kind of kill the day? And we just kind of went on TripAdvisor, and there's this really cool sculpture garden that was nearby we could actually walk to. So we're like, well, we might as well, right? So we got down there, and then the back of that kind of led up to this nature reserve, and we were like, whoa, what's that? So we decided we'd just go check it out, and it was really cool. It was just this little trail going through the woods with all these cactus, and there's a bunch of different wildlife. I didn't know this at the time, but Lampassas actually was originally the biggest city in Texas because of its sulfur springs. So if you've never been around a sulfur spring, they smell really bad. But it was really cool to see. You'll see in a few other pictures I'm planning on scrapbooking, but the color was so crazy. It was like this aqua bluey green color, and it looked really pretty. Apparently people bottled it and used it as face wash. I couldn't imagine putting that on my face. But it was really cool to see, and there was one of the springs that ran straight, like right through this nature reserve, so that was kind of cool to see. So I started by putting all the big cactus down and spaced them out so I could get the most coverage I could down early, and then I just went back and patched in the little cacti in between the gaps. But I pretty much liked where everything laid when I initially put the scraps on the page, so I'm just going to piece this all together, and then I wanted to make sure I got that bright hit of orange in, so I'm just cutting that piece into a little banner. And I'm just going to title this wildlife just because it was a wildlife reserve. Those are just some Bullivard red, and then I used these minty aqua ones. They're by Dear Lizzie, and their thicker is called Serendipity. And I used them on a previous page from this day that this page is correlating with, so I wanted to make sure I used them on this page as well. And now I'm just looking to embellish. So I remembered I had these Jubilee enamel shapes that had a cute little deer on them and some clouds. So I wanted to pull those in. This whole area is fenced off specifically to keep out the deer. But there were 3 very lucky deer that found a way in that we kept running into along the way. So I don't know how they got in, but they're in like deer heaven in there. So I wanted to include that little deer enamel dot. And there's the first page I did for this layout, so I'm just comparing to see. I just felt like something was missing, and I'm really conscious when I do layouts that are supposed to go together about making them feel like it's the same day. So I had noticed that I'm missing that black scalloped edge that was on the other page, so I'm just going to go in and add that in a few areas here. I liked it underneath the title there, but it wasn't enough, so I wanted to add it in a few other areas. And after I added them, I ended up adding it top and bottom of that aqua stripe. It was too much, so I ended up taking the one off that's under the title, and I like the balance that that has. There's a little bit of black on that box, so I really like that it brings that out. And I feel like black always kind of pumps up the boldness in the page when it kind of is looking too flat. So I like how that looked after I added those 2 pieces. But I think after that I'm done. I don't have any journaling to go on this one, and I didn't do any journaling on the other one. There will be journaling at some point, but I only need one of these pages to include the journaling for this part of that day. So I kind of left it open to where they could go on any of these pages, but I'm going to wait until I do a few more of them to see if I end up wanting to do it on one of the other pages instead. But I think I'm pretty much done. Yep, here are the close-ups. So this is a cool one. I'm glad I got some orange used up. Not an orange person, but I love how this turned out. So I have one more coming up for this crop, and then I will go back to regular scheduled programming. Thanks for watching. Bye.